Everybody, welcome back to Dad Talk. Look, the boys are back in town.
Boys
Got Mr.
are back.
Dwayne Ward
Boys are
and
back.
another co-host
absolutely.
for the week, Mr. Carnell Smith. Carnell, it's been so good to have you on here, man.
Hey, I'm honored to be a part of Dad Talk community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, guys, if you didn't see yesterday's podcast, if you want to know kind of like the ins and outs of the movement and kind of like what we need to do, we went there. We definitely were trying to raise the awareness about how grandparents get alienated. And I think we need to do another episode on that.
Oh, yeah.
Just because grandparents are such a strong voice when it comes to this. But there was a lot of good information that I think the community needed to hear yesterday. So if you didn't see that, go back. Do me a favor right now, though. If you're watching this, I want you to like this broadcast. Pick out your phone. Start hitting it. Like it. I want you to share it. And I want you to subscribe. 3 things. That's all we need you to do. Like, share, subscribe. Help us get it out there. Christmas, we broke a record, guys. We had 2 podcasts that hit 100,000 views a piece. That's 200,000 views on Christmas. Could you imagine, gentlemen, if we had 200,000 of these guys show up when we're doing these broadcasts and we had one of these politicians or the lawmakers on here? I think that would make a difference. What do you think?
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. And 200,000 people supporting candidates who supported legitimate family law reform.
Yeah.
And people know that if they will join the movement to help kids have great quality contact with both sides of their family, that we won't leave them hanging out on the branch by themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Everybody check in. Give us a good morning. Tell us where you're tuning in from. We got a very important episode for you this morning. We're going to talk about the ripple effects of family court. So what are we talking about there? Are we talking about what happens when you go through a divorce and get in family court? No. We're talking about what happens after family court. And because of the divisive nature of family court, how it affects a parent's ability to co-parent with that parent. Because whether they like it or not, they still got to communicate with them, and they still got to do what's in the real best interest of the child. Unfortunately, you go into family courts that are supposed to be the best interest of the child, and it becomes the best interest of the attorneys, the judges, and most of the time, baby's mama. And then when we leave, we still got all of that confusion and frustrations and stuff. And it can be really hard to communicate, but you got to do what you got to do for your kids, man. So Henry Resilient said Cleveland, Ohio. We got Mr. Larry Hayes from California.
Howdy.
Julie, Indiana in the house. I don't think I've been to Indiana yet. But glad to have you guys here. Look, last minute, if you got some voicemails you want to bring in, we still got some of the voicemails that was left over from the child support conversation. Plus, we got some on today's. But if you would like to leave us a voicemail, 762-441-0281. Again, that's 762-441-0281. Also, do me another favor. We've already got the shows scheduled out. One of them is going to be, I think it's going to be a really popular topic this week, how mom counter parents everything a dad does. And I'm sure I have heard from tons of you guys saying, I want you to talk about that. Well, we want you to talk about it too. And
Wait,
so,
they don't so after court's over, they just don't get along and co-parent and everything's just, it's like a great.
Let's talk about that. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's say, okay, I'm a new father. I've went through the family courts. I get in there. The attorneys start making a sling mud at each other. I've got my money taken away from me. I'm having to pay alimony. I'm probably, some of these guys have to go get a new house. She's in the new house with the new boyfriend. The new boyfriend is seeing my kids more than I'm seeing my kids.
The dad paid for.
That dad paid for, right? I even saw that for Christmas. Like, there was one lady last night that said her her ex told her son, like, I gave your mom child support and that was all the money I had. Like, so your Christmas that she got probably came from me. And she was very angry at that. And I was like, but hold on. There's two sides of the equation. I'm not saying that's the route that he should have went, but there's got to be some truth to it.
Yeah. I mean, if she's not making extra money, that's how it works. But that's what they think. I mean, my ex, I'm just Cornell. I mean, I think all of our exes. Ooh, we got our first
yes,
or whatever, $5. Thank you, Henry.
Wow, thank you, Henry.
I know we get
thank you. And if you're watching on Facebook, do me a favor. Get those stars coming in. Facebook's gave us a new thing that said if we get enough stars, like within the first 5 minutes, they'll start a celebration and start helping the podcast get out to more people. So you have the ability to help us get this out there. But Henry, thank you. He said, I no longer get to talk to my soon-to-be ex-wife. We have a 2.5-year-old daughter. I'm currently getting cashed out over $100,000 paying alimony and child support. $100,000. Is he talking about a year, guys, in child support and alimony?
That's probably his
possible.
cost to date. And
Yeah.
guess what? And it's not over.
And Henry has 50-50. Yeah, that's another thing.
50-50 parenting.
I feel you, Henry. I had 50-50 and still paid $1,000 a month in child support and medical and all that. So yeah, people think, oh, the 50-50 is going to take care. Now, the courts don't care. They want their money. And depending upon the state that you're in, that the other parent's income doesn't equate into it. Depends on the state that you're in. But yeah, I mean,
Well, remember the little clip that I put out a couple of days ago from Cornell saying, go get me my money.
Give me my
The
money.
judges are pimping daddies. And if you don't give me my money, there's going to be a whole lot of high conflict consequences for you.
They will
Right?
And can we make a distinction today, guys? So we are not talking about those situations where the parents are cooperative and collaborative, and they've already said, well, you know what? Our relationship as a couple is over, but our role as parents is not over. And instead of us going scorched earth and me trying to make you as miserable as possible and you trying to make me as miserable as possible, and we both spend the kids' college fund fighting over little to nothing in many cases.
Yeah.
Why don't we decide that we're going to minimize our expenses in terms of the legal entanglements of the court? Because what are we talking today? About ripple effects of the family of court. Well, from my interviewing bankruptcy attorneys, because one parent is hell-bent on minimizing the kid's ability to see the other parent, that parent will end up bankrupted because they never did a risk and cost analysis on what this was going to take in the beginning. And they were blue-pilled just like I was to start with. I thought that it was a level playing field. And with my crazy self, I thought family court was a court of law. And only after I did research and I eventually swallowed the red pill, I found out that family court is a court of equity, and that judge in a family court has more reach and authority to get into your life and your business, and including endangering your liberty, more than any court in the entire United States.
Oh yeah, it is.
We cannot afford to walk in blind, but guess what happens? Because a lot of us have watched some television, and we know cousin Junebug, who's a real estate attorney.
You bringing Junebug back into this?
Yeah, I'm gonna drag Junebug back into this. But what am I saying here? We often do not get great outcomes because we walk into the arena deluded and unprepared because we have in our mind how we think it should go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Guys, you don't have near the constitutional protections in family court, which is a court of equity, than you do in criminal court. And that should make us want to learn the rules of the court in the beginning, the rules of civil procedure, the rules of evidence. And so, okay, I got to figure out on a risk and cost analysis, if my attorneys is going to cost me $450 an hour and I earn $95 an hour, how long can I sustain this fight? Because I found from talking to people over the past couple of decades, none of them ever asked their attorney, how much will this cost me to ensure that I get to see my kid 50-50?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is the big thing is your attorney is in on it. That's the part that a lot of people, they think that their attorney's going to help them out. And I'm sure everyone's, the hair on the back of their necks. I'm older, so I have hair everywhere, but it's hair on the back of my neck stands up. I got hair. The hair on the outside of my ears stands up. And because you walk in, that was my big thing. That's one of the reasons why we put out so much information is when you walk in, you're thinking this is an episode of Matlock or whatever other show they'll have Matlock. It's going to be equal. They're going to weigh the evidence and it's going to show who's the better parent, blah, 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 blah. That's not what happens at all, ever. You walk in, your attorney's in on it. Hell, they've been paying to the judge's reelection campaign for the last 5 years. Your attorney and her attorney are golfing. They're having lunch. They're talking about how to do this. How can they, because they already have your financials. They're figuring out how to squeeze every penny, your kid's college fund, your great-grandkids' college fund, your house. It's like WWE wrestling. I know Eric is just chomping at the bit. He's like, oh man.
No, it's one of the comments that we got down here, guys, because I think this one holds a lot of weight.
Okay.
For Mr. Jeff Aligny. This is a former state representative.
Okay.
I think, is it New Hampshire or Massachusetts, Jeff? I can't remember, but it was one of the two. He's been in the arena. He knows what it's like, and he is one of the biggest supporters behind this show, guys. So this is what I say. We have those guys here. So I appreciate you for chipping in. Mr. Jeff said, here's a ripple effect. After my ex embezzled over $500,000 tax-free from me in cooperation of the family court, my kids are not named in my will. My estate will be divided up between organizations advocating for a reform of this family court crime racket. Did you see what he is saying there? I mean, but here is one of those guys that we have in the community. And I can tell you, Jeff, I'm sorry if I'm not getting to it all the time. It is all day long. I see my inbox going ding, ding, ding. He's working behind this. We talk about how to do things in the political arena. Here's somebody that was there for years. Do you think he might be able to educate our people on how to get some progress?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because he's walked the gauntlet.
And we need to get these guys into those positions of power. New Hampshire. Anyone that's on from New Hampshire, vote for this guy when he comes around again. Get these guys in.
Yes. Well, I mean, and here's the other thing with that. Like, you'll have to refresh me, Jeff. But that is going to be a state that's going to need many hands on deck. They got one of the biggest, I want to say it's like 250 or 265 state representatives. And I forget how many senators. You could basically go have a conversation with one a day all the way through the whole year. And you're going to have many conversations with these guys because it's building relationships. They need a team up there. Yeah. They really do. And it's a bipartisan thing. So it's not like you say, I just got to go talk to Republicans or I just got to go talk to Democrats. I want to recruit some people to get in there under Jeff and let him show you what needs to be done. Jeff, I'm putting it on you, buddy.
Hey, and Jeff is going to need volunteers.
Absolutely.
Jeff is going to need resources. Yeah. And he's going to need a few committed people who will consistently show up with him. Because if the legislators look at him and see him standing as an army of one and him telling them how big the issues are and how pervasive that court is, because those ripple effects is that, like I said, that judge can plunder your resources to the point to where, you can no longer pay for the kids' college because you lost it all in family court.
Yeah.
Dude, I was off. I was way off. Jeff said New Hampshire family law is a cesspool, just like other states. New Hampshire has 400 state reps and 24 senators. Wow. Yeah. So we thought we was going to make an impact while we was up there for one day and was going to try to talk to as many of them as we could. And we had some really nice ones, man. We had some that met us like at midnight at a bar to sit down and talk to us. But dude, it's going to take some work. And that's just New Hampshire. That gives
Can we say to people though, it is possible
to
affect and bring about change, but there's a huge difference between playing chess and chestnut checkers. Okay. Or was it chestnut chess and checkers? Well,
Yeah.
guess what? They both have an objective to win, but one is a whole lot more strategic in terms of a long game.
Oh, yeah.
And is it possible to win a chess game short and quick 5-minute moves? It is. It is. But you got to be up on your game to be able to pull that off, right? And again, what I was saying about a cost versus risk assessment. If I know going in that, okay, my kid's 16, I might not be inclined to go spend $1 million now to fight tooth and nail against the other parent
For 2
over
years.
getting an extra day and a half a week on the principle of the thing. Cause
Right.
how dare them exclude me from my kid's life? Mind you, what will be used against, let's just go call the data out. According to the U.S. Census Bureau statistics, the last report that we could see, approximately 80% of the non-custodial parents are fathers, which means that now what? There's an increasing number of non-custodial moms, which is about the 20% pool, who are getting to experience this thing firsthand. And they're shocked to find out when you're on the receiving end of that, your gender is insignificant.
Oh, they don't
You're
care where
going
they
to
get the
be-
money from.
There you go. You're going to be minimized as a influential parent in the life of the child, not because you're guilty of a crime, not because you're a threat or a danger, but on the accusation that you're suddenly a threat or a danger just because you no longer have the same address that your kid has.
Mhm.
And if you are not prepared for that in advance, you won't even see it when they hit you in the back of your head with a brick.
Yeah. They're gunning for you. They don't care what your gender is. They don't care anything. They want their money. You know, my case is living proof. I get paid child support for everybody out there. You know, I get paid child support. I try to get it
too.
canceled.
Yeah.
They refuse it. They don't care where they get the money. You can go watch the video. The Office of the Attorney General is telling my ex-wife, someone's paying. You're paying.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They
Yep.
don't care.
So what about these ripple effects then?
That's
Oh.
what I wanted to get back
Yes.
to. Let's
Ripple.
get on this because
Get on
this
the
is an
ripple.
important conversation, guys. Okay, and it's easy to go off in the other corner. But let's talk about that. What are some of the consequences of this co-parenting relationship between mom and dad
Mhm.
once they get out of family court? And I know both of you guys probably have some great stories on this. I'll let you choose who wants to go first.
Dwayne had his hand up first.
All right.
Okay.
Whew, there's half a fast hand up there. So, well, we were talking about this before we jumped on. And actually, Carnell, I want to thank you because I've actually, I've it's been bugging me for years. Did I make the right decision? So, the co-parenting. Obviously, I couldn't co-parent. It just, you know, I tried olive branches. None of it works, you know, so I just do the best I can.
Mhm.
But I, you know, met a lovely young woman and we, you know, decided to get married. We had to hide everything about us getting remarried up until my two bio boys, they did not know we were getting married until we were at the church. I mean, I had to figure out their pant sizes and suits and all that, and it, you know, went off well. But we were in such fear that there was going to be a ripple effect coming down that we said we can't tell them because shenanigans would ensue. And your story confirms it. That was a good, you know, good chance. Oh, we got a Jesus follower. Hey.
Yeah, man. Thank you, sir. I'm going to read his comment real quick.
Yeah.
See my son on average 1 day a week. I didn't want the divorce and fought it to the final hearing. Required public silence makes me feel emasculated. Hey, brother, I appreciate you being in here. Keep
Here's
going.
your place. Yeah, here's your place. That not being able to talk about makes you feel emasculated. You got to get this out. Here's your platform. Call the voicemail 762-441-0281. Got 3 minutes. I know.
Absolutely.
I can be taught. I can be taught, honey. I can be taught. I can learn. But call in. You got 3 minutes. Drop it. I mean, comment, you know, talk about it. You don't have to use names. You can change your voice, do a little Darth Vader action, leave a message. But yeah, there were so many things we couldn't do as a new family trying to bring our two halves back into the, you know, into the nuclear family as best we could, because of, you know, what the courts allowed to do, the ripple effects, the impacts to the grandparents, to cousins, being able to provide for my kids. the way I wanted to. I mean, I grew up poor, had some success through hard work, saw that, and I did mine a little differently than most people. When we were in negotiations, I said, you know what? Here's everything I own. I want 50-50 because I knew the stats. My ex-wife greedily jumped on it. I know her. I know my ex. And we got 50-50. I paid $1,000 a month in child support. And she burned through all the assets in about 6-7 years, and then went back to her home planet.
Uranus.
Uranus. Exactly. But not having that fracture in another ripple effect. My kids saw that. Oh, this it's not forever. When you get down on bended knee and try to have a family, it can be ripped away from you unilaterally. They're the way my oldest is 21, and dating, it's been interesting how that works. My youngest, 16, doesn't want anything to do with dating. He sat front and center, saw what was going on.
And your oldest is a boy or a girl?
Boy, 21. My oldest bio child is 21.
Why do you think the difference?
5 years?
Well, no. That one is having the problems with the date, and the other one's like, I got no interest.
Oh, the time that when we got divorced, the oldest at the time was 12, and then the youngest was 7. And so they saw things a little differently.
And their understanding was different too.
And the time spent, I had 12 years daily with both my kids, with the oldest, but only 7 years with the second one all the time, and you can see a difference. So there's good old Jeff Morgan.
Right there.
Yeah, no fault divorce is the worst thing that happened in America. It did it. I mean, if you go back and you look at the data, 1969, when Governor Ronald Reagan passed it, he said again it was the single worst thing he's ever done, and he wishes he could take it back. I mean, his words, not mine, and absolutely. All that. But yeah, I mean, you see that, and again, I have a bonus child. She's 18 now, and trying to blend those families. Just their perception of what life should be is a heck of a lot different had you had an intact nuclear family. I mean, there's no getting around. That's just my personal experience. You look at the data, the mental issues, the depression, self-deletions, medical stuff, how they handle relationships. I mean, and now it's becoming the norm. What is it? 75% now of all children are born out of wedlock. That relationship doesn't matter anymore. Divorce. I mean, all those things, the socioeconomic climate as a result of all this stuff, that's the ripple effect. You watch it on the nightly news. I know I'm going off on a rant here. You watch it on the nightly news, you see the impacts, the ripple effect of family court in the news every day.
Yeah.
I'll drop my mic. I know before we get on screen, you had somewhat of a similar story. Would you mind sharing?
Sure. You would have almost thought that Dwayne's wife and my ex-fiance were cousins.
on Junebug's side.
What?
I said on Junebug's side.
Yeah, on Junebug's side.
I know a Junebug. That's why it's so funny.
Yeah, look, but that nickname, I'm from the South, so my wife makes fun. My wife, who I actually did get married to after my horrible experience with Cupcake Chronicles, I took myself off the dating market because I figured I needed to work on myself to improve how well I was at picking women to be involved in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
The thing that I knew is that I knew that I was a one-woman man, and that I have problems with the woman who I'm in a relationship with. She wants to be a unilateral serial and a parallel dater. Meaning she wants an open relationship and I'm supposed to be monogamous, and I had challenges with that.
Ordered a hamburger but wants more hot dogs.
Right. There you go. Some other people some other people call it the sea carousel too, right? But that's not the topic of this show. All right. But whether here's where single men and married men converge on similar experiences. in the current day dynamics of the family court, and since that passage of the non-fault divorce law, you can be abandoned as a dad with no notice. Didn't all you know is like, man, she sure is acting cold. She sure is acting strange. And on just like that, bam, family is completely disintegrated, and you walk in and find that this family court that you think is quote quote supposed to operate fairness based on truth and based on justice, and you can get better outcomes, but it has a lot to do with the level of preparation coming in on the front end. Now, when I didn't know that, and I walked in blue pill, skipping through the field, singing la 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 la, and look at I'm going to go in here,
You're like,
and
I've got all this evidence, and I'm good to go.
I'm going to get in there. I didn't have evidence, man. I had stories, and I had what she had personally said, right? I didn't have no transcripts. I didn't have any audio recordings. I didn't have any of that stuff. And once I walked into that courtroom, I was like, hey, guys, I'm not here fighting about the money, even though you guys think that's what I'm here fighting about.
Right.
I am vehemently opposed to only seeing my son once a week and once every other weekend when I'm used to seeing him every day. And I was no danger or threat to him when he lived in the same house.
Yeah.
The police have never been to my house, not one time in the time of the relationship. And the only reason we are separated now is because I wouldn't agree with her her dating strategy of her wanting to date other men while in a relationship with me. Now, I know that happens sometimes to moms as well, but a decision had been made. The relationship, by and large in itself, was such a point that it was over.
Yeah.
It was never, let me repeat, she was never, ever going to live under my roof again. All right?
Right.
All I wanted to do was be able to have frequent, consistent contact with my kid. And I thought I was doing something strategic, guys. I thought that, man, I'm going to pay this money through the family court, because when I tried paying her directly, I'd pay her the money on the 1st. She would come back on the 5th and saying, your son needs Pampers. Your son needs milk. She'd spent all of the money by the 5th.
Nails, hairdos.
Yeah,
boyfriend.
And I was trying to tell her, I said, this is not mommy get her nails done support. This is not mommy go to the club support. This is not mommy go on girls' night support. This is supposed to be for our son. And then when I got this radical idea, was tell you what, I'll just buy him everything that he needs. That way, what he needs, he'll be guaranteed to have it. Oh no, man, that pissed her off so bad that she went and pushed that nuclear button. And what was the nuclear button? She threw me into a case in the family court, and she used the unlimited legal help she received through the Child Support Enforcement Agency, where she was able to waive any fees, because my income compared to hers, my income was probably 95-1 on hers.
Oh, shocker.
And guess what? And because a lot of time us guys like me and Dwayne, who are veterans in science, technology, engineering, and math, and we work in high-tech industry, there's a high probability that our income is going to be much higher than mom, who is not in the same field, and she's not an executive, and she hadn't put in the hours, the time to study, working multiple jobs to pay our way through school. We paid a heavy price to get the level of success that we had achieved, to have the ability to support the family. And the slap in the face is you walk into court, and because you're working 55, 60 hours a week, it's used against you to then give the kid to the other parent who was only, their lifestyle was enabled because you would work that way.
Yep.
Ripple effect.
Ripple.
Guys, what we didn't, if we had some avenue to learn how it really worked in the beginning, we would start to scale back our lifestyle so that we didn't have to work 60 to 75 hours a week, and start saying, okay, dear, we are not getting brand new furniture every season of spring and winter. We are not going to go out shopping because you got this hair up your nose and you see what the Joneses are doing. And I'm not buying a brand new car every 2 years. Somebody's got to be focused on the long game. We got to build up our war chest. We need to have 2 to 3 years of expenses built up and banked up. And we need to be investing money. We need to be strategically invested across a spectrum of short-term and long-term investments. We need to have cash reserves. Am I preaching to somebody?
Oh, look at COVID. That was a time like you had to sit at home. You got to have that on reserve. You never know when you're going to need that. And unfortunately, when family courts come in, they come to take it all.
But guess what? But because people like me and Dwayne and you, when COVID happened, it didn't stop us from earning because we had paid the price to make sure we were in markets where they still needed us.
Yeah.
That's for sure. That's for sure. COVID actually helped this movement. Because, dude, when I was doing all that traveling, there is no way we could have done that now. I was getting plane tickets for like $25 and $50. Carnell, you're a Georgia boy. You know as well as I do, the Atlanta airport, one of the busiest in the world. There was days I went through there and it looked like a ghost town, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But just like Dwayne, though, listen, I experienced so much counter-parenting activity, which we're going to talk about later part of the week, that I couldn't tell anybody that would end up getting the word to my son's mother about what date my wedding was. My son couldn't come to my wedding with me. Because, dare I say, if there was anything that would have given me some pleasure and some joy, I'll be darned. This is the words of the other parent. Oh, heck no.
Oh, hell
So
no.
as a ripple effect, you are probably going to face parental alienation. If you're in a conflict, a conflict related divorce, or in a conflict related relationship as a single parent, and you want to be an active parent, you will be fought on just because how dare you go and be happy without them. And why do we constantly say that dad talk today is primarily targeted toward men? Because 4 out of 5 non-custodial parents, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, are men. That's right. The majority of non-custodial parents are dads. And the majority of the tax base in terms of revenue being paid to finance the Title 4D system is paid by who? Dads. So when we walk into this family court arena unprepared, we're walking in thinking that all I got to do is hold my hand up and explain to Your Honor, I'm a reasonable guy. You look like you're a reasonable guy. And look, let me explain to you what happened.
Find out it's not the case.
And when you wake up from being in Wonderland, your unlimited pairing time will be the standard template. The standard template says, we see no reason to offer anything more than the standard process of once every week and once every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer, because this establishes the maximum child support payment.
Yeah.
And guess what? And then if you by chance have a cooperating parent, you think you have hit the lotto, but then parental alienation kicks in and you don't even get the 1 day a week. You do not get the once every other weekend. Your summer, once you show up to pick up your kids like I did, fly in town on my court approved weekend to pick the kid up. Mom made sure she was not home the entire time that I was in town. And because I got to be back at work the following Monday, because I make my money in the state of Georgia, where my company is located, and me relocating to the new state where all she's got to do is pack up and move again, I can't get relief on my court order trying to say, well, Your Honor, isn't it more important that my kid gets frequent, consistent contact with me? And then that'll reduce some of her expenses. She won't have to pay for childcare. She won't have to pay for a babysitter. Because if I got my kid with me, doesn't that free her time up where she could pursue educational upgrades and skills training and things so that, she could be a strong, independent woman.
I love the
Dude.
Williams brothers.
I'm going to have to tap my hand. I know you see me wanting to jump. You gaslighted me so many times on that car now. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I was like, okay, I got to sit back. But you brought up something. I'm curious how many people are listening to the show right now that's been through this. We want to hear from you just to show that this happens. But you're talking about providing for the needs for the kid, right? Yeah. There is other times, and you talked about this the other day. There's a lot of these guys, if they're told that they got to pay X, they think they got to do more because how much I pay is how much I do for my kids. And no matter how much you do, it will never be enough. I remember one time I was paying child support and it wasn't even court ordered, guys. But I was doing it because I was paying child support on another child. I gave the same amount that I was paying, which was court ordered, to the new baby mama saying, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
One day I get a text, about how bad a dad I am. Baby, baby needs long sleeve shirts, needs diapers, and I don't have the money to get it. I need you to give me some money so I can go and get it. Well, what did I do? They're going to learn something new because they love watching my show. I know you do. How you doing? You should like, share, and subscribe too, because I'm going to talk about it. But I go out, and I was dating somebody at the time, and I said, would you help me pick out some clothes for my baby? I went, got all these long sleeve shirts, Pampers now. I didn't get the cheap ones, got the Pampers. Spent several $100s on this. Took it for my child. I then became the worst father on planet Earth because I didn't just give the money. What did they do? They said that the Pampers caused a chemical reaction and that the mom, she is the one that gets to pick out the
hypoallergenic diapers.
How dare you, Dad, pick out these clothes and not just give me the money? I became a horrible dad again. So they took the stuff back to Target and got the money for it and then re-picked out for themselves.
You should have told her.
Happens.
You should have told. Oh no, my new girlfriend picked him out. That would have went over a lot better.
She knows.
She would have burned them. She would have burned them in the yard in front of you.
You know what? I never even made that public knowledge because I wasn't trying to be like, "Hey, look, I got somebody," or anything like that. No, dude. But I did want to move on. But
you
she was very nice to go and help me pick out those shirts and those Pampers and stuff. I wanted a lady's touch with it. I realized I might not have the best fashion sense, even though I had nothing but girls. I understand other women can help them pick it out. But yes, I became one of the worst fathers on the face of this earth because I went and got the stuff and didn't just give the money. It ended up back at the store and they got the money for it. That's really hard for a father to take. It reminds me of the video that went viral not long ago where the mom reaches out to the dad and says, our child's hungry. He doesn't have anything to eat. So he goes and buys him McDonald's.
Yeah,
he goes and buys him McDonald's and brings him, and then she stands outside and cusses him out for everything he is. How dare you buy him something to eat and not buy my other kids? He said,
the other four kids. The other 4 kids.
Yeah, I'm not their father. And she was like, I ain't letting that kid eat in front of the rest of them. And he was like, look, I'm providing for my kid. You said my kid needed something. Then it became, you got a McDonald's. He don't need to be eating that anyway. And just sat there and cut this guy down for everything he does. Here are some of the ripple effects of family law. Unfortunately, like my case didn't even go through family court before all of this was happening, right? And they did this. But don't think that type of stuff doesn't get worse and it just continues, right? I feel sorry for some of these guys. They are damned if they do and damned if they don't. They're going to be damned for everything that they do. This is a very specific type of woman. They'll say we're women bashing here. No, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of these women that play those tricks
and old who do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Because how dare you move on and be happy without their narcissistic, entitled, combative, argumentative, disrespectful, disloyal self. Now, what free-thinking man who generally at the end of his day, after he has slayed all the dragons, he has worked his butt off, he's got home, the last thing he wants to do is have a freaking battle at the house. And you know what a lot of men will say? They will listen to this song by this artist named Wilson Pickett. And Wilson Pickett's song says, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need no help starving to death with you.
You ain't kidding, man.
And
Go.
after a while, believe it or not, generally after 2 to 3 years of these litigious court battles, and because a lot of us guys continue to keep going into the arena unprepared, we thinking, well, I'm gonna win the next time, and I'm gonna go in again. I'm telling you what I did with my blue-pilled self at the time.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna get justice this time. Well, maybe we can get a change. Look, maybe we can get that judge, our main judge is on vacation. Can we get in court this week? And we get in there and find out the next judge is worse than the one we had.
Oh yeah. Well,
But-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna say that this part right here is eventually, after 2 to 3 years of this stuff, that paying $400 an hour on legal fees has depleted our war chest.
Yeah.
And all we start to see is every time I go in, I get some compliance at the compulsion of the court that now she might be concerned she's going to look bad in front of the judge, and she'll let me see my kid here going up to the court, and then they'll want to walk in and show, Your Honor, look, he just spent this day with his kids. I took pictures of him with his kid, and he brought over some gifts for his kid, and I let him see the kid, and she'll walk in with a church dress all the way down to the floor,
Wow, she showered.
a sweet Pollyanna hat, and you're like, who the heck is this chick? And you eventually, as a lot of guys will do, after 3 years of this, lost his war chest, gone bankrupt. He's so emotionally frazzled and stressed out, he is darn near about to lose his job, that after a while, he's like, man, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And I've seen dads walk away from the courtroom. He didn't walk away from his kid, but because he didn't know how to win, he eventually says, I'm going to start over, and I'm not responsible for making other people happy. I'm a hope that I get to see my kid again someday in the future, and I'll try to rekindle a relationship with the kid at that point in time when I can go direct to the kid and not have to go through his mom.
So you bring up another damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for you. And I want to talk about, something I've seen in the movement a lot. There is a lot of people that talk about how bad these family courts are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they will also shame these guys if they don't just jump straight into it because you're not doing what you're supposed to for your kids.
Yeah, jump in the fire.
You do need to get in the first quarter, and you need to be on the offense very early on. At the same time, you can't go in there unprepared. Talk
There you
about
go.
the balance of that, Carnell.
That right there is how the by and large, what I've seen of those parents, whether you're a non-custodial mother or you're a non-custodial dad, the ones who I have seen and witnessed had the best outcomes, whether they were a prepared pro se pro per litigant or they had an attorney, has a lot to do with the level of preparation that they are on and prepared for going in. And then they sit down and look and not make an emotional decision to go scorched earth. What am I saying? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make her cooperate and get me my freaking 50-50 custody so I can see my kid. And all they go in prepared with is hearsay and no corroborating witnesses, no independently verifiable evidence, no experts that could help them. Look, there are now a wealth of experts available who can help you prove parental alienation, because it is abnormal for a kid to have disdain and hatred for the other parent, especially when they've had a relationship with that parent prior to walking into the family court and suffering from a parentectomy.
Yeah.
But listen, they teach in terms of battle tactics. They teach in the military. They training and boot camp is a mandatory thing to go before we reach engagement and in conflict. We don't learn anything about family court as men and boys in high school. We don't learn anything about it in college unless you happen to take family law and pursue certifications to become a specialist in family law. And that is why, in my humble opinion, why a lot of attorneys are not prepared for what's going to be necessary to aggressively represent the interests of their client. Because you will find there are some unicorns out there. There are some attorneys who will go to war for their client, and they coach and prepare their clients. But guess what? Those, from what I've seen, are the minority. And a lot of times I've seen guys tell me, man, I went to my attorney and my attorney chewed me out for wanting to go in and get more time with my kid, saying that we need to leave the finances the way the finances are, and I'm expected to support two households at the same level that I was supporting the one household when everybody was at. And frankly, I can't go work another job, because if I'm working 75, 80 hours a week, it's not possible by the time I get some sleep that I could spend quality time with my kid.
Well, that's some of the things talking about ripple effects. I mean, we've talked, a lot about financials, and there's a lot of good financial data out there, but the impact on men's health. Divorce is one of the, it kills dads early. I mean, it through self-deletion, through just the overwhelming stress. I mean, I'm 24. This is what divorce did to me.
Wow.
So, or maybe remarriage. I don't know, but it's a joke. Sorry, honey. Sorry about that.
It brought up, one of the double standards too. Like most of the time when I see guys commenting in here that are wanting a relationship with the kid, what are they asking for? 50-50. How often do you hear them saying, I need full custody of my kid? Which I'm going to be honest with you. There is going to be cases, especially if you're going up against this type of alienator that's just going to make your life a living hell. And you got one parent that would do what's in the best interest. There will be times where full custody will probably be needed. And we recognize that. But most of the time, a guy is going to ask for 50-50. And it brings me to the case. I've watched how the headlines, the double standards of the Brad Pitt case happened. When they said he got 50-50, they stated that Angelina Jolie lost. 50-50 is considered a loss for a woman and a win for a man. And I don't know, man. It's just crazy that we are seeing stuff like that. That goes back to the narrative, right?
And which begs this other meme that I've seen. Instead of chewing dads out about why didn't you fight harder? The real question that should have been asked, why did he have to fight to be an active parent at all?
We got to redo that episode about ways that you can challenge that narrative. And we need Carnell on that one too, because that's one thing that I think we could really equip this movement with, is ways to challenge the narrative. Questions that people could start asking that make people go a little bit deeper than what they see on the surface. Most people see it and they've already got their mind made up what's happened in that case before they even get into the details. Is that any different than many of these family court judges when that dad walks in? No, it's not. Many of them have their mind made up before you even walk in there. And it's going to take something very serious happening before that judge wakes up and says, okay, I need to do something here. But we've got to start challenging that narrative, guys.
Let's look at what gets publicized.
Yeah.
What gets publicized the most gets believed. And and a lie unchallenged becomes the truth. Now, what do I mean by that?
Yes.
There has been a massive push to publicize this rhetoric called deadbeat dad. Not dead broke dad, deadbeat dad. I'm going to say, I want to flip that thing around and say beat dead dad, because so many of them have been financially and emotionally destroyed to the point that some of them literally give up on life as being no longer worth it, as in having no value. And I would say to anybody out there that's listening in Dad Talk Land today, if you become so angry, so frustrated, so depressed over not being able to see your kids, you are valuable. You are worth it. We need you, guy. But we believe that you're going to need to take the time to get some help for you. I'm going to say you got to start moving yourself up on the priority list of save yourself, man. And that
Thank
may
you.
mean getting some therapy and some help. And you may need to disengage from the litigation process for a while,
Through a
looking at
season.
what your
Yeah.
current results have been on the look at the way you've been going about this, rather than keep saying, man, if I just go back one more time, man, if I go back just one more time, I'm going to win. And all it is like somebody dangling a carrot in your face, right?
If I shoot the
closer you
basket,
get,
I'm going to win the prize at the carnival. It's going to happen. No, it's
It
not.
goes back though. If you love your kid, you'll
Yeah.
pay and you'll do
Yeah.
this. So it makes these guys who aren't ready or who don't have it in them think that they've got to go into somewhere that they're not prepared to go to war. Right?
Well, look, Dwayne and I and you, we're still here today because at some point we had to make a decision. I'm going to get off this clown circus. I'm not going to keep
Absolutely.
pouring money down this rabbit hole, hoping that something that I need and desire is going to come out of it while I'm still using the same old tactics that I've done
That's
before. Dwayne, I'm gonna pass it over to you, brother.
Well, that's the thing is, yeah, I mean, like in football, I'm assuming I'm not a sports guy, but in football, if they do the same, let's just run up the middle. Let's just run up the middle. Is that going to work? No, you got to change your tactics. Actually, on the Pissed Off Parent website, in my preparing for divorce area, there was a thing called The List. I invite everyone to check that out. It's a list of how you do stuff.
Yes.
And it's not the prettiest, but it'll show you how to get it done. Again, not legal advice. We're not attorneys. Two of the three of us are not fashion guys. But there's ways to do that. But I mean, sorry, I do it every time. Well, again, I'm sporting my Transformers, which by the way, my wife picked out for me.
In here, man.
He's a sharp dressed man.
I got to get my suit on tomorrow.
We should do that.
Yeah, maybe we should all wear suits.
We should all wear a suit. I don't know if I can fit my suit.
All I'm gonna say to that is first, that's a slick comment. Thank you, sir. All right, but and it a lot to do with how we just choose to show up. And mind you, I got my jeans and my t-shirt. You better believe when I go fishing, I do not go in a suit. Okay,
no.
Look, the fish frankly don't care. But what we have in common as us three men here talking to you in the Dad Talk community is that we made some mindset shifts that we were not going to keep doing the same things and hope we got different results. Listen, I understand those guys who decided, all right, this is a freaking clown circus. And they stepped back because that's what he needs for his emotional and mental health, and I'm gonna say it, and for his financial health. Because it makes no sense to keep spending at 2 to 3 times what you're earning, whether you're self-employed or not. Because listen, I got a chance to talk to Jeff Younger. I got a chance to talk to him quite a lot. And he and I have a lot of common ground and support. But that man tells me he has spent over $1 million fighting to keep his son from being chemically castrated by his ex-wife, who is a pediatrician.
Yeah.
So as bad as you guys think it can be, from over the years, I've come to find out there's always another guy who's got it worse than me, who's got it worse than you. And at some point, making a command decision to move yourself up on the priority list doesn't mean you don't love your kids any less. And you're trying to provide over and above what the court order says. You gotta start making some changes to put yourself as a priority. And your mental health and your emotional health is key to your ability to play the long game on how do you get through this matrix, through this rabbit hole called family court. You may literally need to connect in the Dad Talk community to find out, because there's people in the Dad Talk community who have actually won custody of their kids as pro per litigants, but they're going to tell you it wasn't a cakewalk.
Oh no, it's going to be hard.
Guys,
You're going to learn.
They do their homework, and You know, another thing is, guys, with that narrative, don't listen to people that are pushing you to go into something that you're not prepared for, because they don't have to live with the consequence of it.
There we
Right.
go.
And if they would just willingly just keep trying to push you in there, that says a lot about their character. You don't need people like that in your life. Be strategic. Do what you got to do to keep your head in the game and to keep yourself healthy. Okay. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong. For some reason, when dads start going through these family court battles, it's like his health, his finances, his happiness, none of that matters anymore. Bullshit. We have got to start telling our guys it is okay to take care of yourself, to take a break. We're not saying
Yep.
pull back altogether, but
Yep.
we understand what it's doing for you. They look at the statistics of how many of these men are committing suicide, thinking that they have nowhere else to turn, but yet we just keep wanting to push them. You know, I think about these guys that are going through some of these cases, guys, and they're still having to get up to work. They're working dangerous jobs. Many of them might not have no sleep. Everybody that's been through the divorce diet, they're not eating. And we're just putting them out there, broken men, instead of trying to bring them in, heal them, and say, let's give you some help. But that's what they do. And, you know,
Yep.
you bring up another good conversation, dude. Like there's always somebody that is going to have a worse story. And we're going to listen to some of them right now. I got a couple of voicemails. So we're going to get into that. I think I even got one voicemail from a gentleman that was wanting to say something to his kids on Christmas. So I know it's a little late, but I want to get that out there for him. But guys, check out the conversations that we've got coming later on this week. We want to hear from you. And go ahead and send us a voicemail on it. 762-441-0281. I'm going to get to our first caller right here.
Hey, Eric, it's James in Iowa. Thank y'all for doing what you do. I'd like to tell my boys Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, James Dakota, Tristan James, Silas James, Sage Rudy. I miss y'all. I thought it was going to be different this year, but maybe not. Maybe next year we'll keep praying. Y'all keep your heads up, your nose down, stay out of the bottle, stay out of the bad stuff, stick together, find somebody to talk to. Love y'all, boys. You boys stay out of that stuff too. Be good boys. Be men of faith and strong character like Dad taught you. I'll be praying.
All right. So I want you guys to hear something. Yes, it's a couple of days after Christmas. This is something I learned from my friend Mike Whitney. You know, one of the worst times of years for men's depression is, you think it's on the holidays. It's after New Year's, because they hang in through Christmas and New Year's thinking that they're going to get to see their kids, or there's going to be some type of Christmas miracle like we see in the movies, and it doesn't happen. And then that's when it hits. Okay.
Despair.
The despair. Don't let that be you guys. Don't let that be you guys. You're amongst brothers here, and we can all do this together, man. And you are important. You do matter. And we want you to take care of yourself. That's what we were trying to stress on this show. There's going to be many ripple effects of family court. And I know it makes you feel like you're alone. Nobody understands you, and that you're just working every day to be a slave to this broken system. But you are important, man. And we love you guys, and we need you in here. You guys are the answer to this. You might not believe that. You guys are the answer. We need your cooperation. These three people on the screen right here, we're not going to be able to do it by ourselves. Carnell, you tried.
Yeah.
I mean,
400,000 in the hole, and I can tell you, one person cannot get it done.
Oh, no.
And you guys are a part of that. You might not think you are now. If I would have looked back 6 years ago when I was going through a lot of my stuff, I would have said, no way. I'm no good to this movement. Yes, you are. You will get past this. So
And can we say something that all the brothers need? Every non-custodial dad out there. Dude, you need a squad. What am I talking about, needing a squad? For a lot of us, we have literally walked away from our friends. We walked away from our bros. And in some cases, that narcissistic, combative, disloyal person who we were married to or had kids with, that person isolated us from our families, our friends, and from our bros, so that we no longer do the things that we used to enjoy. And by them isolating us, they had full-time manipulation and control over us. And some of us have dared to allow them to abuse us. I'm going to say that when you're no longer in the household with this mental abuser, with this emotional and financial abuser, you need to reconnect with your bros. I'm talking like the
Yeah.
guys you guys used to get together and you did stuff together. You watched the game together. You got to talk about, listen, at some point, you didn't just talk about the problem. You guys started strategizing and started saying, how do we become solution oriented as opposed to just complaint oriented? And I'm going to tell you, man, when you find yourself around some masculine men who don't have their kahunas in the purse of a narcissistic combative ex, and he starts to reconnect with, you know what? I was a whole lot better when I was with my alpha pack and my bros who actually had my back. Man, I could have got those guys to come do court watch with me. And I could have done a whole lot of other things, but I thought, well, I'm going to just take it on the chin and I'm just going to go in here by myself. I'm just going to go and figure it out by myself. And the thing about depression, it works on your mind and it'll work on your nerves. The more you self-isolate yourself and the more you internalize your frustrations, you become just like this person that's literally in a Coke bottle. And the more you start shaking that thing up, it's not if that thing's going to erupt. It's when. Look, and without doing something to give yourself an outlet, you will allow this frustration in you. It'll spill over on the innocent people who didn't have nothing to do with it.
Can I back that up with a story?
Go ahead, man.
All right. So they'll attack that too, right? I remember when I was in my relationship, been 7, 8 months, right? All I did was work, come home, take care of my family. That's it.
Mhm.
I didn't hang out with no friends, didn't have no social life, anything. One thing I will say to you guys, because we need to get proactive. Once you're going through this, it's really hard to get through it. What is it they say? Prevention is better than the cure, right?
Yeah.
If you never have to go through it in the first place.
Mhm.
If somebody will keep you away from your family and your friends, that is somebody that will keep you away from your kids when you break up with them. If you get in a relationship and they're driving a wedge between you and everybody you know there, you might be dealing, probably ain't no mic to it. That is somebody that will keep you away from your kids. And if you impregnate that person, you have no idea what you're getting into. Some of these guys, they stay whipped up puppy dogs and they become such simps or smurfs that they just allow it to happen, But
Yeah.
this case, 7, 8 months, did nothing but work, never hung out with anybody. And my boss at work, he was a drummer that I used to know. That's how I got the job. We used to pass through the clubs and see each other. And he was getting rid of his drum set. And I was like, man, I'd like to have something to take some of my aggression off of. And he's like, Eric, I give it to you for $200. And it was a really expensive drum set. And I was like, heck yeah, man. And so I get it in here. And I was never the drummer. I was the guitar player. And I hadn't seen my buddies in years, man. And I reached out to one of the old guitar players, like, hey, would you like to come over and hit the guitar for a minute so I can try out these new drums? Yes. Came over for 2 hours. 2 hours. And the whole time I was out here, I was like, I can't be out here too long because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The second I walked in the door. See, this is why we can't get anywhere in our relationship, because all you do is hang out with your friends. I'm not kidding, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there like, are you serious? This is literally the only time I have done anything outside of this. But because there was somebody that took my attention away for 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours. And he had to get back to his wife too. I became a piece of crap. Guys, yes, how to escape from crazy. And you know what? When those crazy moments happen, guys, we've all been there. It's one of those wake up. Because it's so crazy, you think you're in a dream. I could imagine being Johnny Depp walking into the bedroom and seeing a deuce laying on the bed. You know what I mean? And people think that's crazy. That's child's play. There is so many things that Cupcake could do that you have no idea. But that is one of the biggest ones that people need to be warned about. If you got a loving family, if you got friends that genuinely care about you and your health and your well-being, and they're going to actually care about if you're getting into a relationship with crazy, they want you away from them as quick as they can get them. And they want you to never have anything to do with them, because if you get near them, they might actually start saying, dude, wake up. What the hell are you doing? You done messed up, Aaron. You're about to be
Exactly.
into something. And
Come on,
dude,
brother.
that was my story.
Well,
2 hours, and it
Oh,
turned
yeah.
into that's all you do is hang out with your friends.
yeah. With Carnell and Eric, I mean, the importance of having a squad. It can be even one person. I mean, when I went through it, I want to give a shout out to my heterosexual life mate Jeff Parker, who's actually flying in from Indy down in Texas. We're going to hang out later today and all that. But I've known this guy for God, it feels like forever, 25 years. I mean, we met at work. And we had a lot in common. I'd love to have him on. He's got some stories, and we bonded over some of the traumatic stuff. But he was there through me, through my first marriage and second marriage, and currently the third one now for good reasons. But no, he was my rock. He was my rock. It sounds a little weird, again, heterosexual life mate. That's it. But he's a great guy. He would sit there and listen to me talk about stuff, strategize with me, listen to my what the hell's going on, the crazy and all those things. But he was like, everyone needs to have a Jeff Parker in their life. At least one person that they can call up anytime. Dare not. This guy has been on the phone with me at 2 a.m. He has always been there for me, no matter what. If I needed him, he was actually he was the officiator at my wedding. So he was there. He got to see my wife and I get married. Third wife, not first or second, but third wife, which is why it's working out, because he blessed it. But no, again, great guy. Not enough nice things to say, but he's just an awesome dude. But as Colonel and Eric pointed out, you've got to have at least a squad. Can be one real guy that you can just share everything you can with, accountability across the board. That's what's kept me around.
Some of these guys are so blue pilled, and like I said, Smurfs. That's the new thing. They're Smurfs that they allow them to do this. At least for me, it was a wake up call. But here's something else that we probably haven't talked about. You guys, back me up if you see this.
Okay.
A lot of times we see ourselves getting more relationships like this because I think guys, they want peace, they want the nuclear family, and they want this. And what they'll do is there will be these people that want to sink their claws in you. And they usually come when you're at your darkest moment, when you are the easiest to control. What happened with me? I was straight out of a divorce. Wife had cheated on me. I had no confidence. I was broke. You could have did me like a puppet because I was just trying to exist. And then that's when they come in. And a lot of times these guys are so broken when they find somebody like this and they know that guy is so easy to control that they never snap out of it. Now, luckily, I got a little hair downstairs and I said, something's going on here. I started to wake up, right? But it's so sad because many of these guys Yes, red pill. So many of these guys do not have that. I have several of those friends. I call them assholes. They'll have these relationship problems and they'll come and ask me, what should I do? What should I do? But they never want to take the advice. What happened? Dude, I'm not picking on you. I had one that shot a gun at one of my buddies not long ago. And I looked at him and said, dude, what are you doing? Have you not seen what I am talking about on this show? Like, you need to wake up. It's dangerous, guys.
Maybe she didn't
and
mean
so
it.
many of these guys just want to be loved, and they want that sense of family that they'll go to crazy. And then once they are with crazy, crazy has a way of just attaching and not letting you go. So when you do get away, that's when false allegations and everything else starts, because you're no longer listening to what I got to say. I'm going to say something so extreme because I got to get you back in here. I've got to get you back here at all costs. Does that sound evil? It's evil, guys.
Yes.
It is evil. It is evil.
And that's why it is so absolutely important for boys to have the guiding influence of a dad who has been red pilled. A dad who understands it is unhealthy to put the person in your relationship on a pedestal such that you are a lesser person. You are a lesser part of the relationship, and you're supposed to worship the ground that they walk on and lick their toes. Now you might be kinky.
Unless you're into
now.
that thing.
Listen now.
Unless you're into
Gaslighted
that.
me again.
I think
Look
Eric,
now. With context, look, with context,
with context.
You already know what I'm talking about, don't you?
look, there is a time and a place you might get some extreme enjoyment out of the benefits from licking some toes, all right?
I never
But-
told my ex that I would lick her toes, but I did tell her I would kiss her feet.
But guess what?
Or no, not his feet. I mean her
But-
feet.
But
Her
did you see that
boyfriend's
comment from
What was it?
Mandalorian?
I
that
did,
comment that you
Mandalorian.
had?
Let's get back to Mandalorian.
Read that comment, Eric. Read
Oh
that
yeah,
comment.
dude. Oh, dude, it was amazing. She said, if you are in a relationship and they are coming between you and friends, family, anyone in your circle, that is the biggest red flag. Abusers want you to have no one else but them. And that is true. I went, dude, I am so close to my family. We all lived on the same property together for years. That has its hangups. You're meant to move away from your family, right?
Yeah.
But it just tells you how close of a family unit we had. I went
Yeah.
almost 6 months without talking to my mom, man.
Yeah.
I was
Not your
convinced
mama.
my mom, because I thought I was
Mm.
taking up for the person that I'm having a child with, right? Then
Mhm.
it extends to my brother. Then it goes
Mhm.
to my sister. Well, then they
Mhm.
start trying to tell me that my kids are trying to break up our relationship. They're
Mhm.
trying to do all these different things.
Mhm.
And dude, like I said, it took a while because I was in such a weak place and easy to control. But then I started realizing, like, look, they're not wanting me to have a relationship with anybody but them.
Exactly.
But now she had a kid. She wants me to have a relationship with that kid.
Yeah.
But I even watched when he tried to reach out to his grandparents.
Yeah.
And she came and slapped the phone out of his hands. They don't want nothing to do with you. They never ask about you. They never sent presents. They want nothing to do with you. Dude, the red
Manipulation and
flags started
control.
going off, right?
Manipulation and control.
Yeah.
Manipulation and control. And that
Yes.
right there, why I asked you to read that comment, is for a lot of us guys, we want to be in, those of us who are relationship minded, have a desire to have a some semblance of a family. Too often we did not get coached and prepared on the mindset of the abnormal woman. What do I mean by that? If you are out here and you are in a relationship with a feminist or a womanist who believes that men are inferior and you are meant to only serve at her whim, and how dare you have anyone that she doesn't approve of in your relationship circle, and how dare you have hobbies and things and friends that you do stuff with outside of her will. Dude, you are in an abusive relationship. And listen, it ain't gonna get just bad, it's gonna get worse. That's why I'm literally saying, man, you got to start to, well, you can learn to put yourself first, but you and I, once we get a break away from crazy, we got to learn how to get ourselves healed on what it is that our selection criteria was such that we kept picking crazy in the first place. Because a lot of times, if I can lay the cards on the table, a lot of times crazy, she'll be absolutely drop dead gorgeous. She will have the physical attributes that we desire, and we will be using these to
Clean
select
toes.
her, as opposed to an extended vetting period to observe her actions more than her words to determine whether or not she is of a quality woman for a long-term relationship.
Wise
that's
man
why-
Tell
listen.
says if she's hot and she's single, she's crazy.
Look,
It's a joke, but
there's a lot of data to back that up. Okay. But what happens though? Those men who become eventually red pilled, if he does not go full MGTOW, that's men going their own way. And I support those fellas, by the way.
me too.
And there's even a chapter within the MGTOW movement that are Christian men going their own way.
Oh, some of the best Christians
Paul.
I've met, man.
Absolutely.
Paul
Absolutely.
was that person.
Come on now.
I mean, you want to go to Bible? Let's go. I'm ready to talk about it. But no,
Well,
Paul.
wasn't Jesus a MGTOW too?
Well, he stayed.
went his
Jesus
own
was
way.
mission minded.
Yeah.
Jesus
I
was
just-
mission minded.
We won't go
All
there.
right. But so that nobody says, "Oh, you guys are becoming women haters." And like, no, we're not. No, we're not.
We're not.
We're in the context of a mutually supportive, respectful, loyal relationship. We're talking about people who are willing to work together collaboratively through the good times and through the bad. And when they're wrong, they'll take accountability and ownership and says, "You know what, dear, you know what, I was wrong for that." And if big enough to come and apologize and make amends. And if they're continuing to do something that's destructive toward the relationship, they will seek out help to do something about it rather than just run their lips about it. Go ahead,
Want
Eric.
to do something to back that up? Carnell, you're a married man, right?
31 years and counting.
Do you love and respect your wife?
Absolutely.
And you back her up, and then she backs you up as well?
Yes,
Oh.
but there are times we don't like each other.
No, but you work through it.
But we work through it.
You work through it, and you do it together. Dwayne,
There you
what
go.
about you?
Love and respect, cherish. I'm old school, doors held open. I'll start the oven for her and even keep the oven on. That was a bad joke on keeping gas. Anyway, sorry, I was trying to make it funny. But no, I love and respect her. We sit down, we talk. We actually had a Christmas disagreement. She spent a lot of time preparing Christmas dinner and all that, and I actually spent more of my time visiting with people, and I recognized that. I could tell she was a little upset. And then, the next morning after things calmed down, I said, "Hey, honey, I want to apologize for, what happened. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and this to rectify it. I want to let you know I apologize. Put the knives down, honey. No. Totally joking. But no, I mean, and she was a little. And then after she had time to think about it, she came back and said, "You know what? I accept your apology. Boom, move forward."
There you go.
And there you go. All right. So both of you guys, you got to meet my wife for the first time yesterday. She popped in because she was trying to get me to leave so we could go do something, and she had every right to do so.
Yes.
Okay. But I love her. I respect her. And there's been times I went to quit Dad Talk, and she said, "No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
I've backed you, and I believe in you. You're staying in there." So what we're trying to say, guys, is there are some amazing women. We are all married to some we respect, we love. There's a mutual respect there, and we work together. But go back to what Carnell keeps flashing. We had to get away from crazy, and there was something that made us go to crazy in the first place. And this might not want to be talked about as much, but there's usually some dysfunction in your childhood that makes that place feel a little bit like home.
I would want to talk about that. That's
we're gonna have to bring that on another conversation because I know you gotta leave in like 13 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I get to go.
A hard stop, and we've got 2 more voicemails that I gotta get to. I tell the people to call in. I want to get to them, so keep them coming in, guys. We're gonna continue it tomorrow. We got Carnell all week. So if there's our Christmas present to the community, he's gonna be on here with us, and I've been appreciating these conversations. I hope you guys have too. Keep the voicemails coming in. 762-441-0281. Here we go.
Hey, Eric. Matt McElhaney here, Glendive, Montana. So read your question today about co-parenting and going through the court. Did it make it worse? It put a lot of stress off of me with her gone. I mean, that definitely helped dealing with her narcissistic behavior. Unfortunately, going through the family court with her, she essentially got away with kidnapping the kids 1,100 miles across state lines, halfway across the country. She falsely accused me of abuse. So the court allowed her to do all these things. So it entitled her even more. So it gave her like a green light to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants. So I've had to scrounge to get basic information from the school, from the doctors, even asking the kids questions that I probably shouldn't even be asking the kids. The kids wouldn't even know. Like, these are questions that I need to ask an adult. So in hindsight, her being gone has allowed me to thrive. Unfortunately, the court allowed her to get away with anything that she wants, essentially. What she's done and what she continues to do, I know for a fact would have landed me in jail. But good old North Dakota. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, man. So guys, he brings up something. We talk about the blue pill man that goes into court
Yep.
thinking that he's going to get some type of justice. What does he find out? It doesn't matter how good your case is. A lot of times you go in there, she gets what she wants. And guess what happens? She finds out that I can do just about anything I want. And so we talk about the ripple effects of family court. It puts her up on a pedestal and she can get away with all these things that you will never be able to get away with. So do you think that after the family court that just goes away? No, it gets worse. If I want to make false allegations against you before the holidays, if I don't want you to have the kids, if I need some more money, if I need anything, I want to make your life a living hell because you're trying to go on without me. All she knows is that she's got the system on her side. And that's what this gentleman's saying here. She just keeps doing this and this and this. So after you get out of family court, it doesn't go away.
No.
A lot of times it gets worse. And the family courts is what allowed it, because it put her on that pedestal and said, your wish is our command.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys got to say about that, fellas?
Especially in the area of a high conflict case. I want to make this distinction. This is not applicable to everybody, where you have two mature, functioning adults who are willing to focus on what is best for our kids. Our kids need both of us and need both of our impact and our influence in their lives, because the kid recognizes part of me is from dad and part of me is from mom. That's why I vehemently make this statement that unless a parent is proven to be a threat or a danger to the child, key word, proven, not just alleged, that these parents and kids should have protected, frequent, quality, consistent contact with each other. But it's going to be darn near impossible for him to overcome that threshold of the 1,100-mile move away.
Oh, yeah.
Because in addition to probably having to deal with alimony is tax deductible, so that'll at least help offset his income and offset his taxes. But the child support is not deductible. And if a blue pill guy will actually think he loves his kids more by paying more, he's essentially going to box himself in and even limit his ability to travel to the other state where the kids are. And if this other parent is of the mindset to continue the conflict, of where now not only am I going to cut you figuratively, I'm going to rub salt in the wound, and I'm going to tell the kids, see, your dad doesn't want you. When comes time to Christmas, see, your dad didn't get you no Christmas presents. Never mind the $2,000 that I sent for the child support payment, that $1,100 I sent for the child support payment. And by the way, when comes in town to come see the kids per his parenting schedule, she's conveniently not at home during the 48-hour window that you have between your flight and your hotel and your rental car for you to be able to pick the kids to bring them back to your house for Christmas and to be able to fly them back after Christmas. This is where the lack of preparation does so badly for us, that we keep doing the same things, hoping it becomes extra. What's the word I'm looking for? It looks exponentially more difficult when you got to go across state lines now, because now for you to see the kid, it's not just the order that you have from the originating state where your divorce was finalized, or if you were non-married, where your custodial case was decided. After the kid's been in that new state for 6 months, any issues you got to deal with on trying to visit the kid going to have to be addressed in that court. If you thought it was challenging to do while they were in the same state down the street from you, try having to navigate attorney fees in the state where you have. It's going to be challenging to just go to that state. And this right here is where that move away situation, it almost becomes the death of the relationship with dad, because dad eventually goes broke. And this is where I said it's not deadbeat dads, it's beat dead dad. And then society by and large then will ostracize the dad and say, why aren't you involved? And as I said before, those legislators, because you keep erecting all of these barriers that dad has to be a freaking Superman to jump over to see the kids. Doesn't have to be this way.
Dwayne, me and Carnell might have to keep this going for a few more minutes because
Please.
he brings up something. And, I remember paying child support, earlier on. And I get a text message one day, and I live in Georgia. Again, you guys should know that by now if you're watching the show. But I get a text message one day that says, I'm moving to Virginia with your daughter tomorrow. And I said, no, you're not. She was like, yes, I am.
Yes,
I was like, you can't do that. She said, yes, I can. And there was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do, man. I was working a full-time job. I didn't make much. I think I made like $10 an hour back then. I couldn't hire an attorney. The only rights that I had is I had done a DNA test and I had the right to pay child support. I had no right to custody. All I had was a right to cut the check. And then I'm told I'm moving halfway across the United States tomorrow. That was the notice that I got. There's nothing you can do. Now, the relationship that they pursued broke apart like 1 year later, and my daughter came back, and now all of a sudden I can have a relationship with her. But what does that say about a dad that is financially responsible for a kid? And the courts could care less, guys. There was nothing I could have done at that point in time. I was not financially stable, and I was working a full-time job.
Right.
That's what the courts do to these dads, man. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah, I mean, listening to the caller and what you guys are talking, I'm gonna go biblical for. I wish I could unpack most of this, but you go back to Adam and Eve. You can look at it figuratively, literally, however you want to look at it. But they were created. Different times they're created equal. They were created for different purposes. But that, Adam had the headship, and you can read it however you'd like. That's the way it goes. And that's the order. That's what it was intended for. It worked for hundreds of years in our society when, divorce was rare. We didn't have these issues and things like that. But when third wave feminism came and it taught that women are better than men, not equal. First and second wave we're equal. We have different roles. We have, they taught those things, but they wanted to be equal. When third wave feminism came and said, we're better than you, and then they used the courts to promote that and do that, the women that get there, they think that they're better and I can do whatever I want. And I have that, I can exert that power. I can do them using the courts to do that is how we got to where we're at today. And I wish I could have more time to unpack all that because there's so much more where I could walk through all of that and explain it much better than I am now. But there's the issue. I mean, the woman wants to have Adam's spot, and the way it was set up is that's Adam's role, and he's supposed to protect her. Equal. I mean, they love each other. They're equal. They love each other equally. They protect, all those things are there. But the courts have just changed that and given the woman control over the man, which is again what the government wants, so they can break the family down and take our resources. Who else in the good book wanted that to happen? I'll stop there.
Well, Dwayne, I mean, it almost seems biblical here because me and you have these conversations off screen, like, where do we go to next? And then you get these little nuggets that shows you're on the right track. There was a comment that came in from Seth on YouTube. He's a Jesus follower. Did you try Christian counseling? I did, and it almost makes me turned off to Christianity.
Yeah.
Is that not a future episode?
That should be a series.
Are marriage counselors worth it? And if you do get a marriage counselor, is it better if I go and get a Christian counselor? I'm going to tell you, that's an industry that many times is just as crooked as the family courts.
Worse.
So that is a subject that we're coming on to. I know you got to get out of here. Me and Carnell are going to take one more call, and then we'll get off. But tomorrow's, see, his alarm's going off. I'm trying to be responsible.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to go ahead and let you jump off, brother.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time.
All right,
man.
Take care, man.
But tomorrow's conversation, guys, and I want you to chip in because so far it seems like when we speak on one of these things, Carnell,
Mhm.
there's lots of the guys coming and saying, hey, that was my situation. And one
Yep.
that I have seen a
Mhm.
very big trend in, I don't know if you
Mhm.
got any skin in this game or not,
Okay.
but my wife left me and the family for a new
another
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been through that one.
I've been through that one too, brother.
And that
I've
is a
been through
big, and you know what? I probably went, oh, I can't tell you how long, probably about 10 years. I couldn't
Mhm.
tell anybody that's what happened to me.
Because,
Dude, I tried to
look,
put on a mask and I tried to
yeah.
have a fake ego or confidence or whatever because I didn't want nobody to know that she had left me or my kid for another man. That just it did something to me. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's talk about it because it's not just
Look,
me. This is happening all
because
the time.
one, it's not just you, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't fall on the sword and take responsibility for the actions and the conduct of the other party.
No.
Because look, I the only thing I'll own up to is that I picked her when
Yep.
I didn't know all of this great stuff. Why did King Solomon in the Bible write in those 31 chapters of Proverbs? And he had a whole lot of instructions to his son about the strange woman.
Well, let's get on Solomon. What was it? 700 wives and 1,300 concubines? He
700
probably knew a
wives, 300
little bit about women.
concubines. Yep.
How many was it?
I think it was 700 and 300. But but you know what ultimately cost him his kingdom though was he started listening to the influences and the hand of what those wives said who were ungodly. So even some great men have fallen because he used the wrong selection criteria. Because what I've used this is almost a comical description here, but what a lot of us guys do wrong is we go pick her based on her external features and parameters, and we say, "Here, Lord, bless this," instead of, "Hey, God, I desire this, and who is right for me? Who has the right heart that can be an asset and not a liability to my life?" Because a bona fide help meet, she is a blessing. Because if you are so minded toward the Christian faith, it literally talks about how the virtuous woman is so much of an asset that others brag about how great his wife is because she has standards that she is a blessing to her husband and to her household, and as a result that kind of guy would go to war for that woman. But when we have the wrong criteria in how we select a woman and we don't look at her character, her heart, her actions. Look, there's guys out there actually putting up with right now. Their wife will come home and tell them she wants to have an open relationship. And that she'll try to tell them how great this is going to help their marriage out by their marriage having improved experiences, and that this is going to help their relationship. And when I'm saying to like guys that your relationship is over, if she is even talking about wanting to do that, and she's wanting to have an OnlyFans page, and she's wanting to show off the marital goodies to other people,
never going to be enough attention.
It's never going to be enough attention. And what this is about, seeking attention and validation, and they are attention junkies. And this means that your relationship was, by the time they have the gall to ask you about endorsing an open marriage, your relationship is already over. That was why I wasn't willing to stay in a relationship when I found out Cupcake was dating other men. I mean,
well, dude, let's be honest. When you are craving the attention of other men like this, and I've seen so many of these blue-pilled men whose wives or girlfriends will get online, constantly getting in skimpy outfits, getting all these compliments from other men, but then claim, "Oh no, I love him. We're secure in our relationship, so he knows I'm not going to do that." Why do you need that attention in the first damn place, man? That's what I don't understand. People think that affairs start in the bed. I think affairs start the second you try to start getting attention outside of your marriage. And the second you start talking to somebody about conversations you should be having with your spouse.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
when it starts happening. We just go straight to the intimacy part and the sex before we
Yeah.
get there, and before we build love. Most of the time, it starts with talking to somebody, getting to know
And
them.
making emotional connections, and
Exactly.
then craving the attention of this person who is not in my relationship, who is not my spouse. And then they go so far as to start arming that person with, spilling their frustrations and anger about what their current spouse is.
Oh, yeah.
This is why you need to be working out your issues with your spouse
Yeah.
and not with an external party. Because what the strange woman will do, she will be listening to that stuff saying, your wife won't do that for you, I'll do that for you. Your wife won't make you that dish, I'll make you that dish. Your wife won't make you apple pie, dude. Guess what? Next thing you know, Cupcake is showing up at your office with apple pie and ice cream and the pecans to go on top of it.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know what? I will. There is the women that love that type of attention, but can we get on our guys for a second, Carnell?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
they
we
are
can.
the other side of this. For
Yeah.
any of those men that are paying attention to Cupcake when she's got a family or kids at
Mhm.
home, you are
Mhm.
just as despicable. You are
Absolutely.
creating a lot of this mess. Stop it. We cannot
Yeah.
break this cycle as long as there's a cupcake and the person over here wanting to put the icing on the cupcake. We
Come on, man.
cannot do it.
Look, people talk about karma, and then there's those in the faith-based community, they talk about the sowing and reaping principle. Man, if you're gonna chase after a chick who's in a relationship, got kids, and you see how she's mistreating the father of her kids, and you know she's already got that relationship, you are crazy to pursue her, because just as those guys never thought it would happen to them to be on the receiving end of her crazy, the clock's ticking for you, brother. And if you are participating in that kind of stuff, you can't be surprised when crazy lands at your door, gets off the mothership, and behold, now you're a victim.
So we got a question in here for Jeff Morgan. He said, Carnell, do you mean if she says that her screwing around with another man will help her spice up your relationship, it's false?
Absolutely, Jeff. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Dude, I just learned something.
Because look, I've come across a lot of stories, and there's some other channels out there where it is a prevailing theme with married women and single women, and the guy usually gets blindsided by this, and then some guys found out just when he was about to propose to her, by the way, and your wife shouldn't be doing girls' night out with single women. Hello, somebody.
Ooh.
And you shouldn't be out running to the strip club with your boys. When we were talking about you need to have a squad. Now if you go participate in some things with your boys and your squad, it should not be disrespectful and disloyal to your spouse. And I'm going to say this, don't put yourself at risk, so that the Bible literally talks about we should avoid the appearance of evil. I literally tried to help one man who was going through like his fourth marriage, and he would do things that would put himself in a compromising position, and he would literally start delivering cars to single women's houses and come inside to receive a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And sometimes he didn't come out the house immediately. And this caused some problems with wife number one. This caused problems with wife number two. This caused problems with wife number 3 and 4. But guess what else it caused him? It caused him problems when she exacted retribution and she nuked his ability to see the kids. She gave him the long-term payback of he hurt her so bad and so deep that she feels that she is justified in keeping him from his kids. And that was something he didn't see coming. Now, talking about the ripple effects of family court, man, you could have some long-term consequences over what you did wrong. I'm going to say, man, that if you are adult and mature and reach a point to where you're willing to own what you did, you could apologize to her and say, you know what, I was wrong. Now, can we at least work together for what's good for our kid? Some guys not willing to step up and do that, right?
Yep. Well, and I think there's something that comes with maturity too. And once you get that red pill and you've seen this, of course, we are men. And we are attracted to the opposite sex. If they're wearing those tight pants or they're doing this, sometimes the eyes are going to travel just because we are inclined to look. But I'll be honest with you, Carnell. I see that. It's a complete turn off for me, man. I don't have nothing for it, one bit whatsoever. And when I was a teenager, when the testosterone was going, maybe I would have looked for a little bit longer. But nowadays I see that like, nah, man, I'm not going to no strip club. I don't even care to see it on TV, dude.
Come on, brother.
And guys, man, if you love your wife, you'll respect your wife. Don't do anything. Maybe they'll say, oh, it doesn't bother me. It bothers you. And then you're inviting these things in your relationship that can divide. Don't invite anything into your household that doesn't help it become stronger. That's all that you got to say at the end of the day. And that goes for men and that goes for women. It's both sides of the equation.
Because loyalty and respect is a two-way street. Yes, you're hearing it on Dad Talk today. Loyalty and respect is a two-way street.
Yes, sir, it is.
Unfortunately, a lot of times that person who has been hurt deeply will go scorched earth and they'll forget about what their kid needs. And if it means that the kid expresses that they have love for the other parent, and why do we keep saying dads first? It's because nearly 80% of the non-custodial parents are fathers. So you have a societal change toward denigrating men, downplaying men, making false accusations against men, and glorifying false accusations. So you are presumed guilty based on an allegation all alone. And again, I got to come back to that part about preparation. We should be trying to network with the people in the Dad Talk community to find out how did they get the victory in their case.
Exactly.
What was the mindset that they changed to, and what things they had to do to become strategic, to start saying, I'm going to implement the long game here. So the other side's playing checkers. I need to learn how to play chess so that I can get the strategies necessary to help me win the long-term game for my kid, right? But you got to take care of you first, though. Not eating right, not getting enough rest, burning yourself out emotionally, burning yourself out physically. I know a dad who literally had a heart attack because he burned himself to a frazzle doing that. And when he was in the hospital, do you know he literally had to face a contempt order because when he was in the hospital, he had moved across states so he could be closer to his kids. So when he had that heart attack, he didn't have any health insurance. He was trying to make sure that he got a chance to stay closer in his relationship with his kid. When truth be told, it would have been better for him to probably take some time away from the litigious court to focus on himself, his health, his financial war chest, get reconnected with his bros and his squad, and find out how did other people win without going bankrupt, without going broke, without becoming emotionally destroyed and broken to the point of where they want to do harm to themselves or to other people. Because in family court, let's be honest here, the emotions of women will be used against you. If she cries in the courtroom, by and large, without somebody to counter that with some evidence to show that this is a facade and this is she should be nominated for a Grammy because she's putting on a heck of a performance today. All right. But when you get strategic and you see how Amber Heard really, she fell because Johnny Depp's attorney was skilled, she was tactical, and she knew how to prepare the evidence. And she literally went in there and used that woman's own words against her on the stand to impeach her credibility and to prove again and again and again that she was a compulsive liar.
Yeah.
People who have gotten a victory in family court had to do similar tactics. And they'll tell you it wasn't just a easy walk in the park.
You want to know how I know that we're saying what needs to be said and not what people want to hear? And I'm sure That's the kind of friends you need, guys. That's the kind of friends you need. People that aren't afraid to tell the truth, because the truth a lot of times is going to be unpopular. When we started talking about loyalty, we lost half the audience. I'm serious. That's okay. That's okay. I literally sat there because I was curious how many people are going to chip in, because it's a two-sided street. Like you said, loyalty is a two-way street. We struck a nerve.
Yeah.
And we need to get that on there. If you don't want it happening to you, don't let it happen to anybody else.
Yeah. Don't do it. Yeah.
No, don't do it.
Don't do it. And by the way,
yeah.
And once you do, if you end up becoming the custodial parent, don't then turn right around and do the same thing to the kid that the other parent did to you. That's gonna make me unpopular, right?
It is. It is. People get burned and they think, well, I'm just gonna go do it too. And that's easy to do. I had to catch myself, Carnell, after I went through the divorce and the bad breakups and stuff. I was a beat up puppy dog, like I said. And then started losing some weight, started dressing good, and I started getting a lot of attention from women. I got hooked on it. How many people can I get, to pay me that attention? Because I've been in a relationship where she was giving attention to everybody but me. So I started getting a little bit of attention. I'm like, I like this. Hey, I want to talk to this one. And then I had to sit back and like, dude, you're being toxic.
Yeah.
Like I had to have, that self-evaluation. Like, what I'm doing is pretty crappy right now. And I don't believe in this, so you need to change it.
Absolutely.
And I went back and apologized to people that never want to see me again. Right.
Yep.
That's one of the places in like MGTOW that and this is going to be unpopular too, that I do not agree with. The PUAs, the pickup artists.
Yeah.
How to pick up women, pump them and dump them. I don't believe in that, man. You're creating this environment that we're talking about.
Contributing to it.
Yeah, we want the nuclear family. Yeah. We're not on here talking about this because we want to hate women. We want to love women, but we want women that are lovable, that are going to love. There you go. And that is going to have the
which kind of women. Yeah.
Yes. So I'd be very careful with that, guys. And the sad thing is that's a very popular thing. It is.
Well, here's the thing. We're talking about the ripple effects of family court. If you allow it to the point to where it causes such hatred deep down in your heart, you become the kind of person that's unlovable. And if that's causing you to shift away from your character, and you allow this to change you to the point, this is where I say I completely understand guys needing to walk away and step back.
Yeah.
Because they get so consumed with the frustration, the anger, the rage, and the results they have achieved so far that it almost never occurs to them. Some of the outcomes has been based on how they've been trying to go about getting it done, as opposed to, I need to find out how people have actually won, rather than me walking in with my own perception of how I think the court should work. Because a family court is not a court of law. Family court is a court of equity. And who gets to decide what they believe the equity is about, what they think is fair and just and all of that? It is the family court judge. And in most cases, you are not entitled to a jury trial in family court unless that state statute has a statute that supports your issue, that you can come in under a jury trial. You can get a whole lot more mileage out of a jury trial. But for most people, you're going to end up with a bench trial, which means there's going to be one decider of your case. And if you don't learn how to do these things where we talk about how to get into evidence using the rules of the court, the rules of civil procedure, and the rules of evidence, so that these things get into the record. Those people who play the long game, Eric, you might not win everything that you want in the first hearing, but because if you play the long game right and you always get things established into the record, you can actually then show a pattern of abuse by the court, which is where I'm bringing in Jeff Younger right now. Jeff Younger has been able to gain the support of the Attorney General's office to file an amicus curiae brief in support of his efforts to keep his son from being moved to California, his two sons, and have one of his sons be chemically castrated, and the mother of his ex-wife the zeal and determination to turn his boy into a chemically castrated boy to make him appear to be a girl. But at this point, though, Jeff has had to what? He had to go court battle after court battle after court battle. And Jeff has a ton of stuff in the record to now to be able to prove the abuse of discretion by the court. Listen, a whole lot of stuff helped Jeff because Jeff spoke out and Jeff went public with it. And that managed to garner the attention of why shouldn't be a partisan issue, that in supporting why do we not want to be applying these type of chemical and surgically alterations to minor kids against the wishes of the other parent. You know, these are the kind of things that have happened because Jeff made a mindset shift on, after spending $1 million in family court, doing it the way that it had been done wasn't helping him. He got a whole lot done when he went activist, decided to run for office. He made his opposition spend tons of millions of dollars to go against him. But guess what it got him though? It got him tons of major media coverage on the issue and things that were done in the dark in the family court. He managed to get those things exposed. I can imagine, Eric, man, what if that there were a lot more courts that actually had video recording in the courtroom, and those videos were available so that you could support what was evidence in the record and what was actually said, time and date stamped. It'd be a whole lot easier to show the legislature these things are not just one-offs. It's not rare that kids walk in with two parents and walk in with one. These things could then be demonstrated to show a pattern that the family court, by and large, is not really concerned and focused on helping kids have quality contact with both sides of their family. It's about the wealth transfer. It is about the pillaging and plundering of that other parent by dangling the carrot that causes this parent to think that, man, if I go to one more court battle, I'll be able to win. And they walk in unprepared, court battle after court battle after court battle. And definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Man, these ripple effects of family court, they can have long, far-reaching impacts into your life, not for just the months after you've gotten your final divorce decree or your final court order for child support and establishment of paternity. This thing can go on for decades. And then when that other parent relocates and moves your kid to another state, if you don't know what to do, you won't know that you could petition for an emergency hearing and file for an injunction that would literally stop that other parent and put them in violation, to where you could then use the state statutes on parental kidnapping. However, if you're a single man and you don't have your custodial status recognized and codified in an order as you having some form of legal custody and physical custody, it's going to be hard for you then to say that you have standing. Well, I got a child support order. No, the child support order means you have responsibilities to pay. Doesn't mean you even have parenting rights in those states.
That's what I was talking about.
Exactly.
I've been that act.
Exactly. But the good news is, for those people who have won, they learned there were things that they needed to get done to make sure that before there was an event. And I've literally told this, Eric, to people, if you and the other parent are getting along well, get everything that you guys agree to in writing. Everything that you guys agree to. That doesn't mean you have to pay through the child support system. If the two of you are in agreement about what you're going to do and what you're going to be responsible for, what they're going to be responsible for, get the agreement codified in writing and file it with the court. And if the agreement is you're going to take care of these responsibilities and they're going to take care of these, and then based on that virtue, both of you, nobody will pay child support to anybody, that'll be the order. But if by chance you start to have problems with these persons deviating from the agreement now, later, you can use that against them because you have an agreement that's been documented and codified in writing. But as long as you have just a verbal between you and the other party, and this other party disavows having that agreement with you later, they're like, man, I ain't never had that conversation with you. Cupcake will straight up lie in the courtroom. And
Absolutely.
Cupcake will even make false allegations against you in the courtroom. This is why it's so strategic to have your squad where you focus on keeping you healthy,
That's it.
learning how to win at the long game. You may need to become like an effective pro se pro per litigant. You'll learn how the law works. And there are people who they learn how to do stuff to where they can actually then bring the spotlight on a judge outside of a judicial complaint, but being able to show an abuse of discretion. I'm really cheering right now for Jeff Younger.
Well, it was so the other day. I think sometimes some of these guys don't understand what you're trying to say, Carnell. There was one who was like, he keeps telling me to do this. He must be an attorney. He's wanting people to pay for attorneys for the system. Exactly what was that you just said? A pro se pro per litigant.
All right. What I'm talking about, the Latin term for pro se and pro per means self-representing, meaning you
No attorney.
represent yourself without an attorney. Meaning, now let me qualify that. You could have an attorney sitting there at the table with you to provide you with consulting on the spot, who hasn't filed an appearance to represent your actual case in the court, and you pay them by the hour for being there. Okay.
Yeah.
But some people have found it even more effective to have a highly experienced paralegal, family law paralegal with them to help them with how to prepare their case, how to structure it, who can't give them legal advice, but can help them prepare with what needs to be done and help them recognize that sometimes what you're asking for, there's no legal remedy for what you're asking for. You might need to tweak that. Okay. Because sometimes people walk in with, well, I want what I want because I said so. That's not the strategy. So you really have two choices. No, three. You could walk in unprepared and hope it works out. Or two, you've done the cost and risk analysis to see that, well, you know what? I can't afford to put up a $25,000 retainer for the attorneys that I see that I need. Cause even they're telling me that 25,000 might be okay if this was a non-contested situation. But the minute the thing goes contested and the other party is going to fight tooth and nail over letting you have anything more than a day a week, then you may need to become an effective pro se pro per litigant who has going to have to do some time getting up to speed on how this works and how other people have won, and get skilled in advance of walking into the arena. Look, this is not something I recommend for the people who are unable to stay emotionally grounded and can stay focused when the other side is lying on them and want to stand up in court and start cussing at the other side's attorney and start cussing at the judge. If you can't control your emotions, you might not do well trying to be a pro se pro per litigant until you can get to the point where you can bring your emotions under control and be able to operate with a certain level of stoicism, which means as especially as men, we generally, once we get to a point to where we see that that's working against us, how to then become more logical, rational, and start approaching the thing in a non-emotional way, even though you know the stakes are emotionally high. But if I go in there and I shake my fist and I bang on the table and I scare everybody except the bailiff who's got a gun, this can be used against me. And even you, how you respond to the person lying against you. You don't get to, it doesn't help you to stand up there and shake your fist and be angry and mad. But if you come in prepared and you discredit them with evidence and corroborating witnesses, and you bring in those things and get these things in the record to where now even the judge on the bench has to be concerned if they have aspirations to get promoted to go on to a higher court. They know that if there's a ton of bad decisions that have their name on them and they've been appealed against again and again and again, this can shoot down their potential for appointments and elevation to higher courts. And it would not be in their best interest to be on the wrong side of law, statements of fact, conclusions of law. So you can be prepared by hiring your own aggressive representative who is a practicing family law attorney who has demonstrated, who has clients who are willing to tell you, man, the best thing I did was hire Mrs. So-and-so right here, or I hired Mr. So-and-so here, and Mr. So-and-so and them went in there and fought like it was a dog fight, or as Dwayne said, hey, you the third monkey on Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain, and you got this person representing you, and you managed to get on the ark, kick somebody else off the ark. Listen, if you prepare like that, you walk in understanding, man, I might not win today, but now I know this is going to make this judge look bad when the record establishes an abuse of discretion 5 times, 10 times. If they got any aspirations to go to a higher court and get promoted and even want to become a senior judge, or they want to become a chief of the court or something of the sort, that they can't afford to have a ton of bad decisions and negative publicity. God forbid they be in a state where they are elected. Come on, that Ben's got another great idea right there. Another great idea. Go out and actually take the training to become a paralegal yourself. That's another option.
Dude,
that is another option.
And this is ways that you can arm yourself so you don't have to go to the family law attorney, because we realize there is a very small pool that want to do what's in the best interest of the child and not just make it about them. So Carnell's preaching right now, guys. You need to listen to that. But I tell you what, we are getting close to being out of time. I got one more voicemail I wanted to get to really quick, Carnell, and we'll get out of here. Guys, if you've been in a relationship or a marriage where she left you and the kids to take off and go with a new man, we want to hear from you. That's tomorrow's episode. 762-441-0281. Let's get to this caller.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to reveal my name. First name is Mark. I had a situation where I married my wife. It was wonderful. We were on her father's property, and unfortunately he became involved in Nazism, and I think she started to get involved in it. My brother-in-law was arrested for conspiracy to commit murder as on the part of a Nazi group by the FBI. And after that, I just lost her and fought the divorce for as long as I could. But after about a year and 8 months, the judge sided with her. I only got basically 1 day a week with my son outside of summers. I think that was because he gave me a parental alienation charge. I had sent her a message saying that if my son asked me about the whole thing, I would show him where I tried to reconcile, and she refused on text messages. So he took that and said that, you're only at 1 day a week with your son. I pay $70,000 or $60,000 scale child support, and I don't make anywhere near that money because I can only stay in one place. My question is, I feel emasculated. My son has been taken away from me. I can only see him 1 day a week outside of summer. How do I deal psychologically with, and I can't say anything publicly about it, or it will be considered, my lawyer said it would be considered a threat to the judge. So how do I deal with the emasculation that happened as a result of what has happened? Because I feel like I have to stay silent, and like I have no courage to take on a very evil system. How do you deal with that psychologically? Thanks. Bye.
I appreciate that very much. We are not attorneys, we're not experts. We got to put that out there. So nothing that we say is about to be legal advice, but how do you deal with this mentally? I think one of the first steps is doing what you just did. It's speaking up about it, not just staying silent. Yep. But there comes the part he's saying his attorney is telling him not to talk. And we don't know the details of that case. There could be more details in there. But you just got through talking about Jeff Younger. Jeff Younger was told, you can't talk about it.
Yep.
You are not allowed to talk about it. They're going to chemically castrate your son, but you've got a gag order. We don't want you talking about it. He didn't abide by that order. He said, this is child abuse, and I'm going to keep talking about it. He got the support of a lot of people. I'm not so sure, like I said, could be more details in this case, but what's your thoughts on that caller, Carnell?
So I completely first thank you, Mark, for sharing this. I want to say this. Sometimes we have a problem just based on some actions that we did, and we didn't know there could be some things that could and would be used against us. I'm of the opinion that when you're in a situation with a high conflict other parent, you do not tell them what you're going to do. You do not telegraph strategies and things that you are going to do. No need to have ever told her what you would do when asked by the child. I completely understand the position, all right? And there may come a day and a time where the young man will want to know what happened, Dad. And I fully support you telling him what happened. Well, you just tell him the truth. No embellishment, no intent to throw shade, but let the facts, let the naked truth be what it is.
But do it on their time.
But do it on your time. Look, but now, going forward, for a lot of people, if you are gainfully employed, and if you know, I'm not talking about the people who are 1099 employees where you're the owner of the business. But even if you are one of those people who you have this set up, there's this thing called EAP, Employee Assistance Program. There is an avenue to be able to get access to counseling and therapy that way. I would say, rather than keep taking this on yourself and internalizing your frustrations and anguish over the situation and being depressed about it, that I could say there is a definite opportunity to work with somebody like Tom Golden, who is a men's therapist, and Dr. Tara Palmatier. And both of these people would know of other experts that might be closer to your state if it turned out they wouldn't be a good fit for you. See the need to be able to help you get this frustration of you out and to do it in a constructive and healthy way, such that you do something that's going to help you with the long-term plans, but also then to connect here in the Dad Talk community and the Dad Talk support group to find out, for those people who have been in similar situations, how did they make the change from just being frustrated and feeling emasculated to gaining victory where they have gotten custody of their kids? I promise you, they didn't keep doing things the same way that they had been. And the earlier you can do some self-help so that you don't just sit up here, walking like a time bomb, literally about to blow up. Save yourself first. Learn what other people have done. Connect with people in the Dad Talk community. You don't have to share names and stuff, but the situation is not rare. You are not alone. Your situation is not unique to you. And try the best possible to not involve the kid in the adult conversation of issues and situations, because what you say can and will be used against you, even where it was done innocently, where all you were like, well, listen, all this wrong that you've done, hey, one day our son's going to want to know, how come I lost my dad? I'm going to tell them. And what do? You become a victim of false allegations to blow that up to where they took that as you just threatened them. This is why I'm a big proponent of learning what the other people have done, so that you learn why it's so important you don't telegraph what your strategies are. Nobody who's ever gone to a battle sent a message and telegram to the other side and told them, this is what we're going to do. Now, I completely understand the frustration. Been there. I literally had to stop one of my family members from doing something because they were frustrated of what they saw, how me and my son have been literally separated and kept apart, and no enforcement of the parenting time. I didn't know the stuff that I know today. But I'm telling you, the people that I know who have won, and many of these people Some of them are in the dad talk community. You can literally see them saying, hey man, I won custody of my kid, but it took me 2 years. There's somebody in there saying, man, I had to fight over over 20 false allegations. Robert Garza. Hello.
43.
43. How did it cost him something?
700,000, 11 years.
See there. But now he's achieved a level of victory now. But what if he'd given up in the first round? What if he'd given up the first year? And what if he'd have just took it on the chin and just isolated himself and then just allowed this reel of events to just play on his head all by himself all the time? Man, I saw Robert show up helping dad talk with other people's stories and other people's issues. And guess what? I found it equally therapeutic to help me by me helping people who were in worse shape than I was in. And getting those people involved to do something about issues from a legislative point of view. I was successful in getting members in the faith-based community to start establishing dinners for dads and kids. Because I showed pastors that by them coming to family court, doing court watch, they got to see firsthand why these non-custodial dads were frustrated, why they were pissed off, why they were angry. And then when they saw why my senior pastor was in tears that his ex-wife cheated while he was away in the Navy for 20 years, and that when he got out of the Navy, he didn't have a home to come to, and then he was cut off from his relationship with 3 daughters. But yet he had to pay the child support, but then he didn't even have a home to come to. They got to see why that man could relate to those dads. And then those dads then started working together collectively as a brotherhood and as a squad to help each other. Which, by the way, is the very same thing that women who are true victims do to help each other. Wonder what would happen if we did this kind of thing. And what if us, as men, stop thinking I'm more of a man if I just do it all by myself and I just try to figure it out. I'm saying that is actually counterproductive to your mental health, to your emotional health. It literally is sometimes in your best interest to step away from the litigation and get self-help first, take care of you, your emotional, your mental, and then you might need to learn how to exercise, get back out there doing some stuff to get yourself fit, because when you feel better, you're doing things to help you feel better. Take your mind off of this thing, take your mind off of this case every day. Doesn't mean you don't love your kids. Just means you got to change your strategy, change your tactics. And man, it can be empowering when you connect with 4 or 5 guys who've actually won now. And then you become like a sponge and start learning, okay, man, what are my first steps? All right, what else should I do? Now, that's after you have taken care of your self support, like getting a male-focused therapist, male-focused psychologist, counseling by someone who is understanding of the position that you're in, who is not just going to tell you about, well, it's your fault. And mind you, it might have been your fault that the relationship is over. An end of the relationship doesn't mean that you need to be cut off from your kids and your kids be cut off from you. I hope that was somewhat helpful, Eric.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate it as always, Cornell. And guys, let's get in there and empower. You know what? That guilt, those games that they play to psychologically torture you only work if you allow them to. If you realize it for what it is, step back and say, I'm going to get a battle plan here. And if I got to take a break for a second or for a season, I got to educate myself. I mean, you could really starve these attorneys. You can starve this system, but we got to start getting those in there. I guess the biggest challenge with this movement, Cornelius, there's so many different attacks that we got to have people on the front lines doing. And in order to do that, we've got to have a well-oiled machine, because I promise you, the opposition's got it. They've definitely got it, and it operates exactly the way they want it to. So
yeah, this is by design, by the way. There is no
Oh, yeah.
happenstance that the family court works this way. And then you and I, we could be frustrated about, man, why does it have to be an adversarial system? Meaning it's got to be a winner and a loser.
Loser. Yep.
And the loser has to be the non-custodial parent instead of, wait a minute, none of these issues existed a lot of times when the kid lived under the same roof with both of the parents. How do they suddenly appear to be a problem after you have two different addresses?
You know, it's crazy in this system. Okay. Sometimes moms can go through it too. We've said
Absolutely.
that. Okay. But sometimes moms can go through it too. Most of the times it's going to be dads. But in these cases, when they go through family court, there is somebody that always loses, which is the child. And there is somebody that always wins. And it's not mom and dad.
The system.
It's the courts. You got to think about that. Your child loses and they win. They gain off of your child losing.
Yeah.
We've got to change that.
Yes.
We've got to change that. And don't think that there, I mean, well, we have said there is some people that don't know about it, but I call it a broken system. I believe it's broken. At the same time, it is working exactly the way they put it together. And there is so many other countries that are following pursuit, guys, that are just waiting for us to change it here because it's what they're going through as well. And we're going to continue to speak up about it. I think, you know, I'm glad the direction of Dad Talk has kind of went in different areas because there's so many different things that need to be addressed. And we need to, sometimes it feels like going in the community, you hear the same stuff all the time, right? We got to start adding a little bit more into that. All right. And then opening up these groups to you guys. One thing I would say, you got 3 minutes on that voicemail, 762-441-0281. Again, 762-441-0281. That could be one of the first steps in you learning how to effectively fight your case. Because I'll tell you what happens, Carnell. There's a lot of times these guys are calling in. And they'll be like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I'm trying to sit there and think, okay, I want to reply to this person. But I don't remember half of what they said because they haven't learned how to effectively communicate what they're going through because the emotions are still there. I want you, before you call, before you come in there with all the emotions, write it out. Say, this is how I make the points that I need to. I might not be able to get it all out, but what way can I get it out in which it prompts people to give me questions so that I can continue to do it? Or the approach that Carnell talks about, make them walk a mile in your shoes, but tell the story through them, which you said you got from Martin Luther King.
Sure did.
So it's little things like that, guys. Learn how to tell those stories. Get it out in 3 minutes. It helps us, help you, and then we all win, right? By coming in here and embracing these together. All right, guys, we will be back at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. My wife left me and the kids for another man. I have a feeling we're going to hear a few stories on that one. I really do. I mean, we've got some of our own for sure, but give us a call and practice that. Like I said, 762-441-0281. Carnell, I appreciate having you on here, man. Thank you so much. I learn something every time you're on here.
Hey, Eric, I just thank you for allowing me to participate with Dad Talk today because I support the mission. I believe in you, man. I believe you should never give up, brother. Never give up the fight.
Nah, man. Well, we're here. We're here and we're doing everything we can. We just ask for you guys to show up and we'll be back tomorrow. Replay at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Until tomorrow, Mr. Smith, stay away from the cupcakes.